I just thought I would record a very quick fun tutorial on how to do a watercolour doodle of some elegant ladies. Now, I don't want you to panic. It is a very simple doodle to do, and the effect is really quite striking. They're painted in the abstract style, and you're actually going to be painting your watercolour direct to the paper, so you're going to be using wet on dry. So I've just started using some yellow, and I've just drawn a little V, which is the bodice of the dress. And then I've just using some sweeping brush strokes, just fanning out the skirt. Once you've got the basic shape of the dress in, you can then go back over your paint and using the yellow again, just creates a little bit of shading, especially when you apply onto wet paint. Just thinking about the shape of the lady's dress, and just adding in some detail over the shoulder of the gown. To get the paint to run, you can always then apply just water, so you can just use water on your brush, and that just then allows you to add some different textures to the little dress. Just using some red now, and I'm just thinking about the position of this little hat, but I'm just drawing in very loosely, just a little shape of a hat. Now just linking the red of the hat through the actual painting, and the second dress I'm going to do is a little red dress. So again, very simply, start with a V shape and just fill in the shape of the bodice. And then add in the full skirt, just being careful not to get too close to the yellow, because you don't want the red to bleed into the yellow. Of course, when it comes to you doing this painting, you can have take a little bit more time, just to make sure that that yellow is actually dry before you move on to the next colour. It really is quite simple to do these little dresses, and really quite effective. So just work with the paint until you're happy with the colour and the texture on the little gown. Now this lady, I'm thinking about where her hairline's going to be, because I'm just going to do her with a little short curly brown hair. Now when you're painting in this style, and in the abstract style, what actually happens is your brain fills in the missing gaps. So as you can see now, I've just got the little, the bodice of the dress, and I've got the brown of the hair. But you can see that there is a lady's body in there, and you can then see the suggestion of the where the face, the shoulders and the neckline is going to be. Now for my third lady, I am going to do a blue gown. Now just on this one, I'm thinking about the position, and I'm going to be starting with the skirt. And then same again, just putting in the V of the bodice. Now again, just applying some more blue, still the same colour, but it's changing its tone because I'm applying it now wet on wet. And just adding some little wisps to show some form of movement within the dress. Again, just to get the paint to run a little bit and to add some extra texture, I'm just using some water on my brush just to be able to move the paint around a little bit better. Now I've just got some yellow on my brush, and I'm just going to be putting in some blonde hair for this lady. So just thinking about where the hair is in relation to the neck and the shoulders. Now what we're going to be doing now is just putting in the limbs. So I was just taking some time to mix some flesh tone coloured paint. And all you're going to be doing is just putting some long lines of colour on your paper, and then just cross them over just to give the suggestion of long legs. So this little doodle couldn't be any simpler. You are literally doing little stick people. Now just doing the same for the arms, and because I'm working close to the colour of the yellows, just need to be careful that the arms, the colour of the paint doesn't touch the dresses, and then the colour then bleeds through. So I'm just going to take some time now, just going back over the arms, just to work that paint closer to the gowns. You could do your own version of this quirky little doodle if you wanted to. You could actually turn these ladies into ballerinas. So you could do shorter dresses and more of a tutu style. So I'm just adding in some colour just to the end of the legs, just to give the suggestion of little pumps. And this is where it lends itself to being a picture of ballerinas, because they do look as though they're actually on their point shoes. If you were going to change these ladies and actually do them as ballerinas, you could also position their arms differently as well. So once the shoes are all in, what we're now going to do is we're just going to add some little details. So I'm just going to start by adding some beads around the lady's neck and some jewellery. And then we'll just put a necklace on the lady in the yellow gown, and I'm also putting in a little wisp of hair just coming out from underneath her hat. Just put some red beads. And then for the lady in the blue gown, we can just put a little earring, a little green dot to suggest that there's a little earring there. Now I'm just adding a different colour of yellow to the lady's hair, just to give it a little bit of extra texture. And then what I'm going to do now is just add in some different colour onto the dresses. So in the case of the lady wearing the yellow dress, I'm just adding in a very watered down red, just to give it a little bit of extra shading. Now I've changed my brush for this, and I'm actually using my fine detailing brush. And notice how I'm holding my brush when I'm doing this. I'm actually holding the brush further up the handle of the brush, so I can actually be a bit looser and have more of a sweeping stroke. The thing is, when doing a design like this, is to not to overthink it, and not to think too precisely as to where you're putting the paint. Like I say, you're working in the abstract style, and an individual's brain will fill in the gaps and make up the rest. So the next one I'm going to work on is the lady in the red gown, and for the extra detailing on her dress I'm just going to be using a violet. Again, just keeping the brush strokes very soft and very loose. Now the contrasting colour for the lady in the blue gown is green, so I'm just adding a little bit of the bright, vivid green into her gown. Putting some detail on the shoulder of the blue gown just to make it look like there's a corsage, or just a bit of extra ruffle detail to the dress, and then just adding a little green strap. Now once we've allowed that to dry just ever so slightly, I'm just going to add some details in towards the bottom of the picture now. So I'm just going to mix up a very soft grey-green wash, and we'll just apply that just to the base of the picture where they're walking. Now once you're happy with the wash and you're happy with the effect at the base of the picture, what you can do is you could actually apply some paint splatter. So I'm just got my pencil and my brush loaded with some watery paint, and I'm just flicking some paint onto my picture. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, it just adds a little bit of another dimension to the picture. But I understand if you're feeling a little bit nervous when you've worked on something, to then sort of flick paint on it, so it's entirely up to you. So we need to just let that dry now, and once it's dry we can then put in the ink detailing. Now painting in a loose style like this, it's up to you. You don't have to go over it with the ink pen. You can just leave it as it is, but I do like to go over it with the black fine liner, so I'm just adding in some of the details to this lady's gown. Now I'm working on this design using two different fine liner pens. I've got one that's a little bit broader than the other, and that's always nice to use the two just to add in those extra details. So I'm just putting in the little corsage. And then just drawing a single line in for the arms and the same for the legs. And then just colouring in and putting some texture into the hair. Moving on now to the red gown. And then just put some of the lines through on the skirt. Draw in the legs. And then put some curls in her hair. This really is such a fun little tutorial, and they really do look quite effective, these ladies. So I'm just drawing in around the little shoes. And then we just need to put in the details of the lady's hat. looking like they should be at Ladies' Day at Ascot, don't they? And then just putting the curls in and the hair. So there we have it, some watercolour doodles of some elegant ladies. Please have a go, enjoy, and please share the pictures to the page. I would love to see how you get on.